What is going on, everybody? We are back for another NFL playoff weekend here at Fantasy Sports Insight. This is the first game of our divisional rounds here this weekend with the LA Rams taking on the Green Bay Packers. So let's get into the slate. If you are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. There should be a video right above you that if you want to check out my NHL video, you can certainly do that as well. If you go to the end of the video, you can check out some of our other content as well, showdowns, my bankroll video. So be on the lookout for those. They are on our channel. So let's get into it. We have the Packers and the Rams. The Packers are coming in as a touchdown favorite. At home. We know that the Rams upset the Seahawks. Seahawks looked awful, but I will give credit to the Rams defense. They are definitely one of the best in the league, and it's noteworthy. You know, like Jalen Ramsey, obviously we know about Aaron Donald. We know that they have these studs on the defense that can make things difficult. One way to epitomize that and kind of balance those out is having somebody like Aaron Rodgers on the other side of the ball. So who does not get sacked and does not throw interceptions. So that it makes things a little bit more challenging. A 7-point favorite, I think, with still a potentially winged duck in terms of Jared Goff is probably a respectable line. And I think that you still want to favor the Packers side here. So let's get into the slate. I will say, let's just start with the Packers. Let's just get the cat out of the bag, and people are going to be wondering, do you fade somebody like Davante Adams here because Jalen Ramsey's shadowing him? And honestly, I don't know the right answer. And I didn't know the right answer on the last slate. You fade DK Metcalf, he scores 2 touchdowns. Now I will say, I'm pretty sure both of those touchdowns, or at least one of them, was against zone coverage where Ramsey was not actually guarding him one-on-one. So I thought I read somewhere that even though when he's shadowing guys, he's still, only playing man-to-man like 65 to 70% of the game. So there's still that opportunity that he's playing zone. I think the Packers know how important Adams is to their success, that they will, even if Ramsey is on him, I think you may see less deep shots, but you're going to see more short routes. You're going to see the spot screens where it's just, say Hutton, chuck it to the left, chuck it to the right, let him do some work after the catch. I will say I prefer Rodgers to Adams, but deciding if Adams is a fade or not, I just think he's too much of an elite talent. I think in these kind of situations, you want your best players to thrive, and I think the Packers will game plan a way to make that happen. Do I think his upside is reduced? Absolutely. But do I think he could show up with 20 DK here? Absolutely as well. So when we get to the rest of the slate here, you'll kind of like be able to figure out where you're going to decide. But I think you can already see right off the bat, you have, Adams, Rodgers, and Jones. And if you are already locking in Rodgers like I am, then it kind of might come down to Jones versus Adams, unless you jam all three, which is possible, as we'll get to here in a little bit. I'll show you some potential builds that you can do that. But then you're likely just saying fade the Rams, so we'll get to the Rams too. Tanyan is definitely viable at 6,400 as a tight end, is another cheap alternative option. Again, he continues to just get in the end zone when he was playing. I do think he is pretty touchdown dependent. Like if he doesn't score a touchdown, he's not going to have 70 yards and 6 catches, So I think that that type of projection is really tough for him. So at 6,400, he's a little bit more GPP for me. Valdez-Scantling and Lazard, you see, I think Lazard had like 17 yards. The last game was really tough to base just on the passing yards, but I don't know. I don't love really either of them. I think there's too much volatility between who's going to produce between those two. I think they're higher GPP upside plays than the kickers like Crosby, but I love Crosby at 3,800. Packers rarely punt. So they're either in the red zone or they're scoring a touchdown. So in one way or shape or form, there's a good chance that Green Bay is scoring. And now you add a better defense out there that might even just stifle those red zone chances from turning into touchdowns. I love Crosby as probably one of the best value plays of the slate. And you see that if you're listening to any of my content, that kickers will grade out as almost always as the best point per dollar value play because of the equity you're going to get in the scoring. There is double-digit upside. 2 40-yard field goals and 2 touchdowns. That's not that crazy of a game. A lot of these long field goals come at the ends of half too, where they're just like getting in range and letting the time. They're not going to throw a Hail Mary, so why not kick the 50-yarder? So I love Crosby there at 3,800. Packers D. I know Goff is not fully healthy, but I can't really get behind them too much here at 4,600. I just still think it's a risky play. I much prefer Crosby. Jamal Williams should be the RB2, 2,400. I think he's viable. I'm not really sure how much they're going to rotate him. What I've seen, and I know there's Packer fans out there listening to this, some that I know pretty personally, but it feels to me when the Packers are in a close game, when they're losing, you just see the snap count of Aaron Jones just go like this, increase. So if this game is remotely close or they're having to be in any sort of passing situations, they love to have Aaron Jones out there. Aaron Jones can run wheel routes and score touchdowns. So I don't know. I think he's fine at 2,400. He's not going to dud you at a 0, but I think his upside's like 2 or 3 points unless he scores a touchdown or catches a pass or something. Emmanuel St. Brown, I don't think he would get much action here. Maybe a dart, on like a empty formation, he might find his way out there. AJ Dillon at 600. Obviously, if we knew he was RB2, he'd definitely be in play, but I don't think that's the case. Mercedes Lewis is just, grinds out that one catch for less than 10 yards, and there you go, $400 spent for him. Were you happy or not? Probably not. So I would probably pass on him. So there's not that really great a value here for somebody like the Packers. I don't know. Maybe they run Tavon Austin on a couple jet sweeps or something, or throwing the ball, but maybe he's viable at 200. Let's get to the other side of the ball. The game script obviously was massively in favor of them running the ball last game. And you saw that by how they used Cam Akers. I think no matter what, they were going to depend on Cam Akers a ton, right? Wolford was not going to win them that game, even though I thought he looked decent on the first drive until he basically got his head knocked off. But to expect a repeat performance like this, I think is very unlikely. Do I think he will do well? Yes. Would I rather play him over Aaron Jones? No. So I think that's where, at least in my opinion, I know Aaron Jones doesn't have the easiest matchup either. So I just think there's more of a likelihood that the Green Bay gets up, 10 points in the third quarter, and then you see less Cam. You might see Cam Akers still out there, but I just don't know that they'll be able to run the ball that well. Jared Goff at 9,400 is definitely in play as well. Again, I just don't think you can play Akers and Goff, and even Goff, in the last game, obviously the game script was super in his favor. He, as a quarterback, if he's even healthier than he was last week, I think he has a chance to go over 15 DK easily. Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, I'll take the discount on Kupp. I think, he was used really heavily early on in that game and then kind of disappeared when they were able to run the ball. But I think I prefer Kupp in a vacuum over Woods, but I think both are viable. Jair Alexander is probably going to be covering Woods, so I think that gives Kupp a little bit of an edge for me. Higbee at 4,200 is in play, higher upside play than the kickers. Matt Gay will definitely be a popular selection down here. Malcolm Brown against Seattle, 9 carries, 1 catch. I think, again, that was a little bit more game script dependent. They were able to get ahead to be able to run the ball. But I don't know that I'm in love with him at 2,800. I think I much prefer like a little bit more upside in somebody like Josh Reynolds, who played 43 of the 73 snaps against Seattle and just didn't have a target. Again, they didn't need to target him. So I think he's a better value, actually. Reynolds at 1,800. And then Everett at 1,400. Definitely can see a couple balls his way. Had 1 target against Seattle. Again, in a situation where they might be forced to pass more often, you could see Reynolds and Everett, flourish a lot more as potential value plays. So let's get into some builds. My 3 favorite cash plays are going to be the 3 Packers, Jones, Adams, and Rodgers. Now, do I think that means you absolutely have to play those 3? Because I do understand getting some of the other side of the ball. Like, that half this game is going to, going to be played with the Rams having the ball. So then obviously I think you're considering somebody like Cam Akers or going down to maybe Cooper Kupp. So let's just hypothetically use Rodgers in the captain spot, Adams and Jones. So even with a build like this, you can still plug in Crosby. You can still plug in Matt Gay if you want. And then you still have actually some decent salary to work with. And let's say you just want Crosby and then you want to go down to somebody with a little bit more upside like Reynolds. Where's Reynolds at? Oh yeah, it's like both teams here. If I go to like somebody like Reynolds, then, you can get back up if you really want one of those Packers receivers. So I don't think it's out of the question to utilize the 3 studs from Green Bay. But now say you want to shove in Goff. Now you're really, let's not even go Goff. Let's go Kupp. This is actually a little bit more realistic to spend $1,600 on your last 2 spots because Everett is $1,400 and Reynolds is $1,800. So that is actually, something that you could realistically do. You could go a little bit cheaper with Jones at captain and then potentially get up a little bit higher, or use somebody like Cam Akers over Devontae Adams and then get yourself to another kicker as well. So hopefully you enjoyed the content here at Fantasy Sports Insight for our first divisional playoff matchup between the LA Rams and the Green Bay Packers. Good luck, and hopefully you catch.